Welcome to the first episode of the Grave Sisters, the creepy sister of the Sound Sisters podcast. I'm your ghost host for this episode, Angela RoseRed, and I'm here with my fellow ghouls. Say hello, ghouls.
This is Gaby, Kaos.
This is Miss Kitty.
Drea Doll.
What? Now, before we get started on this episode, I wanted to provide the listeners with some insights on the inner workings of the new Grave Sister podcast episodes. Woo-woo. So as host of the Sound Sister podcast, we have this ongoing theme with our guests, which includes talking about all the creep, which meaning topics such as ghosts, UFOs, Sasquatch, paranormal activity, conspiracy theories, and everything in between. So due to our ever-growing obsession to find the truth amongst the unknown, we decided to bring in our fellow ghoul, Miss Kitty, as for these episodes. Now, as some of you loyal listeners recall, she was a guest in one of our first Sound Sister episodes. Also, side note, highest rated episode to date. No joke. She is an accomplished tattooist and artist, and her creative voice centers around monsters, sci-fi, paranormal, Sasquatch, and ghostly things. Basically all the rad. So she's obsessed with the unknown and has lots of insights and knowledge into these subjects. And she literally had us at UFO. True story. So, plus she also has killer taste in music, so there's always that. So why don't you give the listeners a little meow, Miss Kitty?
Meow meow, people of Earth, this is Miss Kitty.
We're totally stoked to have you here. Seriously, we've been in the works of this for like a year.
I know. Yeah. I'm so stoked that this is finally happening.
It's actually happening. We're in the same room together. It's coming. It's happening. So it's been a long time in the works, and thus the Grave Sisters were born. So, meow. So our format for these one-off episodes will be a little different than our Sound Sister episodes. So prior to our recordings, we're going to conduct an eerie adventure or activity, something of the unknown, and we will change up the host for the episode depending on the topic. And we will start off each episode with an open coffin discussion, which includes an informal dialogue of any spooky news, personal happenings, or tales from our listeners, which, side note, we are taking submissions for videos, photos, and stories that follow our scope of the unknown. So be sure to follow our Instagram pages, Sound Sisters AZ, and our newest one, Grave_Sisters AZ, for more details. So after we conduct our adventure, we're going to provide our listeners with some research findings along with our experiences. So we've got lots of spooky explorations in store, so be sure to stay tuned. So this particular episode's topic, we're focusing on tarot card readings. Tarot,
like carrot?
Tarot.
Or parrot? I don't know. But just to give you guys some insights, the four of us just literally came back from a tarot card session. We also did some aura photos as well by a professional psychic medium with over 10 years experience. Her name is Trauma.
I have no idea how to pronounce it.
Trauma. Yeah, that's her. And she's an amazing psychic that's at Vision Quest in Phoenix, Arizona. So, but we'll discuss our opinions on the topic and what went down in our individual readings. Plus, later on, we're going to hear from Colleen Dolly Sinclair, who has an in-depth knowledge on the subjects of tarot readings and mediums and all that good stuff. So before we get started, I want to provide a disclaimer. We as Grave Sisters in no way claim to be experts in the topics we're about to discuss. We're simply bringing forth our experiences. If you should decide to partake in any of the activities we cover, please reach out to an expert in this area beforehand. In other words, don't try this at home. We ain't going to be liable. Also, regardless of our individual thoughts on the subjects of tarot cards, mediums, or divination reads of any kind, we ultimately understand and respect that these are religious acts for different groups of people. We truly and honestly mean no harm, and we're not in any way trying to parody these acts since they are sacred to many individuals. So we respect you, we respect all of these people that do find this close to their hearts. But with that note, let's go ahead and get started in our first ever open coffin discussion. Wow, wow, wow. There's going to be lots of these weird sound effects.
Yes. And laser beams, too. Yeah.
So with these open topic coffin discussions, as I said, it's very informal. We're just going to talk about any sort of spooky happenings that may have come into play in our absence from one another. Does anyone have anything they would like to discuss?
Well, I want to touch on back into my closet ghost that didn't actually end up being a closet ghost. But
I still think you should try, man.
yeah,
I
I
think
think
shoes.
yeah.
Shoes.
So for listeners who've been following the story, we thought I might have a closet ghost moving my shoes and ended up caving, buying a surveillance camera, setting it up, and literally the first day got to watch Ozzy walk in, look at the camera.
0 Fs.
Yeah. 0 Fs, looked at the camera, went to the shoes, and I don't know what you would call it, but I guess he just kind of like tapped on it.
He tapped on it.
He tapped on it
pull
enough
them
for-
out like
right.
your other pictures. They're all the exact same shoe. It's a fucking cat, man. It's something. You got to keep the cameras rolling, man.
So yeah.
It is odd to me that they're exactly by each other, right next to each other. It's not even like a little bit of difference between the two. I mean, how can a cat be like, I gotta get
And
this
it's the
perfect?
same shoes. That's
Yeah.
the thing that gets
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
I think a cat wouldn't care about matching shoes.
Yeah.
But your cat seems to know that.
I mean, Ozzy's pretty stylish. I did take his photographs. He's pretty
Right.
stylish.
Oh,
Maybe he
yeah.
really loves those
He's
shoes.
the Al Bundy of fucking shoes.
Like we said, no judgment about your foot fetish there, kitty.
right.
We all have our things.
But, so at
I
this
love that he
point,
looked at the camera.
yeah.
Yeah.
Dude,
What's up?
that was the best part of it. He was like, "Oh, there's a camera here. Whatever."
I feel like animals always know when there's a camera.
Yeah.
Like all the
my
trail
dog, you
cam
can't take a
pictures?
photo. He gets
They
mad
know.
and like storms off.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we're gonna go ahead and say that the shoe closet is debunked for now, but we will set up that camera
Yeah.
and maybe we'll catch something.
Something else.
Something else.
Because didn't Pops, your dad, say like, I got this funny feeling in the house. I
Oh,
don't know where you.
okay,
Or was it
Was that
indigestion?
debunked too?
that was debunked
Yeah.
too.
Okay. Oh, man.
I debunked that one. Yeah,
It's
so.
probably good you're not living in a haunted house.
Stop trying to make it happen, bro.
Dude, I like came to terms with it too. I was like, okay, this is my life now. Like, this is in here. Like, do I tell anybody though, or do I keep this a secret? Like, what do I do?
Are people going to judge me because I live in a haunted house?
Yeah,
Secret, keep it safe.
yeah, yeah.
Did your mom know there was a camera in your closet? Or like,
No.
did she walk in? They're like, "What the fuck are you doing, Drea?
No, no,
camera
no.
in your closet."
Well, if they listen to this, they'll find out. But
Okay, yeah.
no, they had no clue.
Gotcha.
I didn't want them to like get freaked out either. You know?
Yeah.
I didn't want to like scare them.
Spared the family.
Yeah.
I respect that. She's
Right.
like, I'm going to deal with this creepiness on my own.
Yeah, and if it did happen, then I was gonna be like, well, look at this. Like, I have video of it, and this is what's going on. So, what do you want to do about it?
Sure.
So, yeah. So,
Sage
yeah,
the house.
that's what I got.
Did you sage before you started recording your closet?
No, I did not.
Okay.
What you got? You're thinking of something.
Oh, no, I was just wondering if maybe you cleansed your house of the ghosts before you started recording, if that had been established.
I thought about it, and the house is just so. There's just a lot going on in the house.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For another episode.
Right. We'll just do an episode in your house. We'll do some ghost hunting there.
That was debunked.
Yeah,
All right.
debunked. I got
you-
nothing creepy.
You got nothing creepy going on?
Nothing's happened that I can think of lately.
Cat,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
let's talk.
Yeah.
Like this.
Give us the dirt.
Yeah, what's the
do
list?
Do you see what I'm saying right now? Give us the
Yes,
dirt.
I will give you the
Huh?
dirt. Nice
Huh?
segue. Well, I have, I guess, ghost hunting, paranormal happenings. That's kind of my jam. Like, no matter what. I did go to Tombstone. I did the ghost tour there. That was pretty cool. I sat in front of the Black Mariah and we did a little ghost hunting extravaganza. And I might have been the only one to hear it, but I certainly heard tapping on glass. It sounded like a fingernail tapping on glass, which is what people described. And when I went into that setting, I didn't know that we were going to be ghost hunting. I just thought it was going on like a nerdy historical tour where they also talk about ghosts, which I'm all about. And then they're like, yep, this is a part of the tour where you sit here and we shut off the lights and we wait for ghosts. And I was like, oh.
And wait for ghosts.
Oh, okay. Cool. Didn't realize that was going to happen. And then I'm sitting right in front of this like historical hearse from Tombstone, the Black Mariah. Like, oh, and that's where stuff happens? Right behind my head. Oh, fantastic. Great. So I heard tapping. I don't know. That was about all that happened. That was pretty cool. Let's see, what else have I done since then? I did most recently this week go to, I was on a big New Mexico road trip, and I was in Chimayo and went to the Holy Dirt Church, where in 1810, apparently a priest discovered a crucifix in the mud, and the crucifix had a brown Jesus on it. Or as a
progressive,
right? Sorry, for 1810, yeah, they were like, "This is cool."
I'm sorry. Don't strike me down.
God damn it, Angela!
I think
It's mighty PC of you.
Dark-skinned, yeah. Bravo, missions from the 1800s. But they found this crucifix, brought it into some church. It returned to the mud hole. That happened like 3 times. So whoever that person was decided this is a holy mud hole. And that little mud dirt hot spring, holy mud hole. They decided that it was a holy spot, and it was holy and sacred to the Native Americans of the area. Okay. So kind of like many, like Christianity has a history of like usurping other people's religious, rituals and traditions and kind of swallowing it into their own. That happened at this place. And so they deemed the earth there to be holy. And they built a church around the mud hole instead of trying to keep taking this crucifix out of there. So
we're good, dude. Build around you.
We'll stop. Sorry.
We got you, bro.
And, you can go, and people make an annual pilgrimage there, I guess, for Good Friday. People have Santa Fe walk from Santa Fe to Chimayo to be healed. Wow. There's, like, a whole wall of, like, crutches and things that people have, I guess, left behind because they don't need them anymore because they're healed. So I didn't even really know I was going to be going to this place, but intrigued by it, I definitely bought a container and filled that up with some holy dirt. And...
did you eat it?
I ate it. It's like, how do I delicately say this? I don't. I ate the dirt. They say not to, but I feel like that's getting it directly to the source.
Right. Yeah.
I've never felt so connected to you. Would have done the same thing.
I have some for you.
Yes!
We can all have some. It's not recommended. You're supposed to like rub it on the affected area. But I figured, what if my whole body is a problem?
Right.
Like, let's just get it in there.
Maybe dilute it.
You're right. Yeah, I put it in some coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Some coffee.
Wait,
Coffee chaser.
so was the mud hole still there?
It's a pit in an off room of the chapel.
Okay, so they've like built around this mud hole at this point.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think they are taking the dirt apparently from the surrounding mountains at this area because, it's finite.
Wait, so did you get to see the actual like hole?
Yeah.
Okay.
They built a church around it.
Was the crucifix still in there?
No. I think it's still there though. I didn't see said crucifix. There's crucixes everywhere. The place is actually amazing. Like visually, like there's so much like beautiful folk art there. It was really, really gorgeous. Like regardless of your belief system, it's a beautiful place, and there's a ton of history there that's really, really cool. But yeah, I troweled out my own little dirt and filled up my container. It was really peaceful. I can't say I had a profound experience, but I felt like it was a really peaceful, beautiful place.
That's cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Good vibes, man.
Yeah.
Good vibes.
Only good vibes.
I dig it. Awesome. All right. I think we've...
Wait, well, do you have anything?
Yeah, what about you?
Me? I don't have anything right now. I don't know. I'm just still processing this afternoon.
Okay.
I mean,
all right.
but yeah, I haven't received too much creep, but apparently not just a little interlude to my reading. Apparently, I'm a medium, and I'm an empath. So maybe I see shit all the time, and I'm just like, whatevs. Turning up the radio. I don't know.
See people and they're dead, but you think they're living.
Right.
Oh,
What if you don't even know?
We don't even exist, dude.
Right.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's some deep shit, guys. I don't even know I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I'm pretty good as of right now, but we've had quite an afternoon, so I'm really excited to dive into this topic. So, on that note, before we chat with our expert Colleen Dolly Sinclair, I wanted to provide a little bit high overview on how tarot cards and divination tarot cards divinations work. First off, some of the basic questions like what is a psychic or a medium? So by definition, it is a person who claims to use extrasensory perception, parentheses, also known as AKA ESP, to identify information from hidden from the normal senses. For example, like telepathy or clairvoyance. So that brings up the next question. What is divination? And basically the term is for energetic communication from ancient practices to seek guidance, knowledge, inspiration from a higher power or spirit. Other examples of divination tools besides tarot cards are crystal balls, pendulums, runes, and our favorite topic that keeps popping up, the Ouija board. That's another one. Ooh. I know those are Gaby and Drea's favorites. Nope. That's where we draw the line, bitches. No, but according to tarot historian Tom Tadford Little, I apologize if I mispronounced that, but the act of tarot reading is dated back to the 1400s and was first created as a game of sorts, which is very interesting because that is like the Ouija board.
Yeah.
Coincidence? I think not. Yes, we'll come to that conclusion later. So in 1781 in France and England, occult followers started using them as divination tools. So not to sound like too much of an expert on occult or divination tools, because I tried to focus a lot of my research basically on tarot cards, but a lot of other divination tools, again, is a part of groups of people's religious practice. And so that was dating back to way before. So not even documented. Some people do believe, though, specifically with tarot cards, that they actually originate from the Egyptians, but there's not hardcore proof on that. So that's something else to consider. So, but of course, there are hundreds of different tarot decks. There's lots of beautiful artwork that are, different types of, decks that are available. But the most common is the Rider-Waite deck. So if any of our listeners Google it, you take a look, you've probably seen the artwork in some form, whether it's movies, TV, or wherever. So basically, the deck has 78 cards. The traditional tarot deck has 78 cards that consist of different imagery, symbolism, and stories. So they reflect trials, triumphants, and tribulations that we as humans experience on a daily basis. So just to give you a little background, within the minor arcana cards, there are 16 tarot court cards representing 16 different personality characteristics that we may choose to express at any given time. The minor arcana cards also includes 40 numbered cards organized into 4 suits with 10 cards each, representing various situations that we encounter day to day. Also, in addition to that, as far as a little bit of background on how tarot cards actually work, it is not meant to predict the future rather than reveal information within and coming in contact from a higher self. So technically, the psychics aren't like these all-powerful beings that know everything, as you see a lot of times are depicted into, Hollywood and different, movies or television shows. It's basically, you yourself hold the knowledge. So technically, you can do a tarot card reading on yourself. However, a lot of times where you run into troubles there is if what you want versus what the cards are actually trying to reveal can get into that. That's why sometimes having a psychic or medium can be helpful. Now, other mediums or psychics, such as ours that we experience today, she didn't just primarily use tarot cards. She also pulled in from spirit guides. She also pulled in from those guides that are passed on, various other conduits that come in. So one thing that you need to realize with tarot cards is that the reading is good for that specific time in which you had the tarot card reading. Free will and even the act of reading itself can change the course of your future. So think of the reading as focused probabilities, but not absolute yeses. And that's where a lot of the skepticism come into play, because it's like, oh, you can kind of bend that to whatever will you want. So the art of interpreting cards, because a lot of people, rightfully so, consider it an art form. The art of interpreting the cards is where the skill is at as a psychic. That's why it's sometimes helpful to have that extra person. So the way I like to look at it is, you know, if I want to have a sentence to speak in Spanish and I don't know how to speak Spanish, I could use Google Translate and kind of work through it. But someone who's bilingual in that area is going to have more in-depth conversation. That's kind of where I'm going with that whole ideal. So point being, tarot is not about magically knowing exactly what's going to happen tomorrow. It's about knowing where you are now and how you got there, where you're headed, and what is driving you there. So what intentions are driving you there. So if you would like to get a reading yourself, a few suggestions on how to prep for that. Of course, using lots of different research sources, finding someone that you feel comfortable with is a big thing, and then seeing, you know, if they have experience in that area. I'm not saying that every psychic out there, you know, is, you know, 100% good intentions, because like anything in life, you know, you're playing gamble with that. You know, I know in the 90s there was a lot of those. Who was it? Like LaToya Jackson was I'm not saying anything about LaToya Jackson, but you never know. You never know. Some of it could be, you know, a little bit on the iffy side. But things to think of, you know, keep your options open and keep your opinions open when you go into reading. If you have an answer to a question that you want to ask in the reading, you're not allowing the cards to fully work. So if you're already like, I'm not going to get this job and I'm going to ask her if I get it, that, you know, you're going in there with that intention, because again, it's reading where you're at as far as your higher self. So be positive and be neutral. So those are some of the advice and just general things that you can do to help prep yourself if you decide that getting a reading is what you want to do. So the next thing that we're going to go ahead and talk about is, before we go into our exact readings and our experiences and our feels, I want to kind of go around the room and talk about our personal stances before we got the reading on tarot cards and, you know, what our thoughts are. Mm-hmm. So Gaby, you want to start us out?
Sure, I was terrified at first. But like you said, I do the research. The more you research, the more I kind of calm myself on it.
Sure.
And plus, you, like everybody talking about it, you kind of just made it more calming to
right.
go in how. But yeah, I was terrified to go in there because I don't want like ghosts following me home. Right. That's just what I thought.
Right.
Maybe later I'll see a ghost.
Maybe they kind of already are. It sounds like for all of us, but not in a bad way.
Right. In a good
guidance way.
Right.
Yeah.
And really quick, not to interrupt you, but I'm interrupting you. I'm just kidding. True Angela form. No, but that brings a good point. In some of my research, they were talking about the actual act of tarot reading. Some people think it's opening this door or opening this portal. Some of the research I said it doesn't. But, I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of iffy on that. I kind of think that doors can be open in many ways. Right. So I'm not going to say one way or the other.
Door way before this. So.
Yeah. Looking in the peephole, opening it up, welcome mat. But anyways, back to
that's it. I was terrified.
You were terrified of it. But were you thinking this is real or this could be real, or were you like?
I was a skeptic at first, but the more research I did, and when I do research, I go in like YouTube binges for like days, weeks, months.
Yeah.
And so
that's where you've been.
So I researched a lot of like a lot of different tarot readers online, and like how they're all kind of similar to the same storyline. I mean, it's all cards. All the cards tell the kind of the same story, kind of.
Right.
For different people, but theirs was like general for the public, so it was the same. I don't know. It was yes and no.
Okay.
Like,
you were on the fence.
I was on the fence because yeah, it was yes and no. For
gotcha.
Me. Yeah.
Drea, what was your stance on?
So Going in, I'm pretty like impartial to it. Not really a believer in any sense. I'm more of like, shit's gonna get done because you put yourself into it, and I'm not gonna rely on cards to tell me what I already know. So yeah, going into it, pretty skeptic about it. And I had like no experience about it, anything. I didn't like go and research it. I was just kind of like neutral, like,
right.
All right, this is it. I don't know if I'm going to believe this, but
Angel's hosting this one, so whatever.
Right. Yeah, so but I'm open to the experience and seeing if anything comes through. But yeah, pretty skeptical.
Okay. How about you, Kat?
I think that I'm always erring a little bit on the skeptical side because part of me really wants the proof. I want the proof in everything. Yeah. I want to know for sure 100%. And I guess with a lot of these topics, you don't ever get that.
Sure.
Yeah. And that's part of the fun of it too, is not ever like there's an unknown. There's unknowns in all of the paranormal and spiritual aspects, and I mean faith even as a whole. Like that is faith. That's a definition of faith, is trusting in something that you can't see or touch or hold. It's just a belief that you have. I have definitely dabbled in tarot. That's how I pronounce it. Before, but without really knowing or having any guidance, or just being a kid and deciding that seemed like a fun, spooky thing to do, which I'm sure as this podcast goes on, you'll realize I've dabbled in almost everything paranormal, things that I probably shouldn't even admit. But yeah, I was definitely open. I had a question in mind that I wanted an answer to, and it was really interesting to me that that's not where we went at all. But yeah, I did a little bit of research, but all the research I did, it was all from the perspective of someone giving a reading to someone else. I don't know why, but that's where it all landed for me too. So, and I don't really have an interest in doing tarot readings for people, but maybe that helped me to just understand the process a little better. Sure. But yeah, I just went in kind of open and neutral and like, let's see what's going to happen. Yeah.
So you said you had some past experience you want to talk about.
So, and I don't know, people, maybe listeners can confirm this or not. There's a floaty outside moving around.
That thing scares the shit out of me.
Fucking flamingo. It's you and your spirit animals.
Yeah. Well, no, at night when I'm in here, I see a shadow in the freaking window, and I'm like,
I would have to shut the curtains.
Yeah. Watch our entire podcast. It's just us freaking each other out. It's fine. It's
okay. It's cool. A flamingo, everybody. Don't be alarmed. So I bought my own deck back in the day. We're talking, I'm like a teenager, maybe my early 20s, which I don't think you're supposed to do. I think someone else is supposed to buy you a deck. If our listeners know, that would be great to confirm this. I believe someone has bought me a deck since then. I haven't even cracked it. I haven't even attempted a reading, but I did a couple of readings for some people. The first one I did for an ex-partner, and I'm just kind of like looking at my cliff notes on tarot and like laying out the cards, and it said some pretty gnarly stuff, and I wasn't really good at being delicate or graceful or mincing words, so I just kind of said what I interpreted the cards to say, and it wasn't a positive thing, and he got really stressed out and really freaked out by it and angry, and I think within like a month he ended up coming down with like a really serious illness. I was like, oh, wow, yeah, that's kind of what the cards predicted.
Awkward.
Yeah. And I kept bringing it up, like, remember? And he was just absolutely against the idea of any sort of divination. And then I did another reading for someone, and probably not, we'll just say it wasn't a daytime setting. It wasn't a neutral setting. There may have been drinks involved. Probably not like the way that you should go into something like this. Like not pure of body
not a
or
way
mind.
To open another door.
For anybody. I was young. It was a long time ago. And it also said some really like harsh reality stuff that she got really angry about in the moment, and I just kind of tried to shut it down and say, like, but you control your own destiny, you control your own fate, it's up to you how you want to take this information and go with it. And I think I interpreted the cards as saying an end of a relationship, and her partner ended up getting divorced, so
damn
girl. And I was like, this is really icky. Oh yeah. And then to close off my tarot experience, I had this deck, same deck, and I'm an artist, so I had my painting supplies, wandering around my apartment at the time, and one of the cards wandered into my painting box somehow. I don't know how. I don't know if I misplaced it, but my black ink ended up spilling all over the card in this very creepy kind of Grim Reaper looking pattern. I'll dig for a photo of this.
Yeah.
I took the card and framed it.
Which card is it again?
It was the Three of Swords.
Three of Swords. Okay.
Which I think I looked up today and I already don't remember what that stood for. We'll have to look it up. But
at least you framed it.
I framed it because I was like, this
cool.
is really creepy. Everyone who saw it was like, yeah, that looks like a Grim Reaper, impressed on the card. And then I just put the deck away and I was like, I don't know, some weird things have happened. I don't think I want to mess with this anymore.
Yeah,
I want some proper training. So I backed away from it.
So the Three of Swords, it means fresh beginning, loss, pain, separation, and suffering.
Wow.
So it suggests
That's when you separated from the cards.
Yeah.
I'm good, man.
They're like, back off, lady.
it's a happy card. But it says it's likely caused by a result of conflict, perhaps due to a disrupted partnership or friendship, which was right after that happened.
Ooh, I disrupted a lot of friendships there.
Mic drop. Deal with that. Three of Swords.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Those dark storm clouds in the rain on the card.
Yeah.
Knives stabbing that heart.
Wow.
I know, it's so
It's
intense.
not a really happy card.
It's very intense. Yeah. So as far as my background on tarot cards, I was really, really into it ever since I was a kid. Like, it's just something that I've been kind of drawn to as far as like new age stuff, just other sort of divination tools. But like anything else, it scared me. Of course it scared me and fascinated me. Wanted more. Instead of running away from it, I just wanted
Run towards it.
Yeah.
Run towards the fire.
I remember like going online back in the day, like AOL dial-up, like welcome to, AOL online. That's how old I am. And I remember like going into different chat rooms for tarot cards, and of course probably talking with people that I probably shouldn't be, and just like people that are like looking up various facts about me to try to like get money from me. But I did that, and I thought that was interesting. But also, again, always respected it, but always was interested. But I remember distinctly when I was like, I want to say 15 years old, going to the Renaissance Festival, the Renaissance Fair. I went to the Renaissance Festival and I got a reading, and it was about a specific family member that was in trouble, and they basically, and not to get too detailed, said that this person will have to pay for like what they had done, but ultimately they will be good in the long run as far as like their life and their health and how it all turns out. And it turned out exactly how they told me, and that was very interesting. And but since then, I had friends that used to do tarot card readings on me. I had some decks, and I would give myself readings a lot, but then again, it almost became kind of like an obsession. Like, I want to know what's next. And I think there was a bit of that whole that we were talking about earlier versus like what the cards are saying versus of what your own will wants to say. So it got to be a bit much. And like you, Kat, I kind of was like, this isn't necessarily, my forte. Maybe I should, learn more before I try and, seek more guidance into the cards. But I've always had a deep respect for them. Always had various readings, and they always had some reign of truth to it. With the extra readings I had, like in my 20s and everything, there were people that I knew. So that was also kind of a thing too. It's like, is it a reflection of what this person knows about me versus what the cards do? So there's a lot of that question. But then again, looking back at it, I do believe that there's something with that higher self, that has those answers. So I was really looking forward to today. And since then, I've gotten rid of like some of my cards and stuff since then, But I also dabbled a little bit in reading runes as well. And that's more like hardcore symbols that are on like stones. So that's a little different. But yeah, long story even longer. I have some experience in it myself, and tried to read myself, not really knowing what I was doing. Again, research a little bit before you try and do this. And like Kat and Angela were like, wait, let's do this. We don't know. Let's jump.
Yeah.
Yay. Let's figure it out. Ask questions later.
That's my approach to learning anything. Like, just jump in.
Exactly.
Figure it out.
I definitely agree and respect that. She completes us, everyone. Awesome. But yeah, so that's all of, that concludes, I guess, us talking about how we felt before. So let's kind of go around the room. And we're going to discuss our readings at a higher level. I mean, there's some details that we want to keep private because some of these questions are private. But I would like to get everyone's general thoughts and consensus, any feelings you had, not just in the actual room itself during the reading, but maybe even being in the store, seeing some of the other people. Like, what you guys get off of it? Let's hear the vibes.
It's crazy. I was shook.
Shook.
I was shook.
In what way?
In a good way. Yeah, well, just seeing the store, like that lady said at the front, she's like, she forgets that other people don't believe in that stuff when she leaves the store because she pretty much works there and lives.
Right.
So it was funny to see that perspective, like, oh, yeah.
Because she, like, lives in this world.
Like
and that's...
and, like, she thinks, like, other people think she's crazy sometimes,
right.
you know.
But, and that's that deep devotion to her faith.
Yeah, right,
so.
right. But yeah, my reading was good. It was crazy, but I was shook. Some stuff that she mentioned.
Yeah.
I don't know how much detail we want to go into, but
much detail as you want.
She
girl.
said some stuff that, like, just even recently, yesterday, I was talking to a relative, and she pretty much said, "Hey, like, my spirit guide's telling me to shut up and tell you need to reach out to a relative that's on your mind," and it was specific to who it was, and I was like, "Ah, shit!" Like.
And there's no way of none of us knew that. None of us knew that.
I didn't tell you any of you,
right.
or nothing. Like, it was literally like yesterday, like coming home from like helping out the relative.
Right.
And yeah, she told me like, hey, I have to stop the reading to tell you that you need to reach out to this person. And so that was, and just other things about like the house and just things that are happening that.
Like musically,
like music, also like business, and also like house stuff that I have no idea. I don't know this lady. Like,
right.
So she brought it up, or like just even the house. Like, first thing she said, "Hey, your house, are you renting to buy, or are you gonna buy it this year or next year?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's pretty much how our house is. We're renting it to buy." And she went into more details, which I kind of already forgot, but she
it's hard.
A lot of stuff, like just trying to process everything. And I mean, I came out of there pretty good energy, like happy, and just, what's the word here? And just reaffirming a lot of things that I kind of already knew.
Right.
And apparently I'm an empath too. So
yeah,
she told me to research that, which I will.
Yeah. Well, and that brings up an interesting perspective too, because I've talked about in previous podcasts. I was legitimately a licensed massage therapist, and I went to a naturopathic school that tarot cards, energies, crystals, that was normal talk alongside learning anatomy and pathology of massage therapy, because you're dealing with people's energies when it's body work, it's energy, and the feeling I felt was like we would feel after a lot of our coursework, because whenever when you practice something and learn it, you give them a treatment and you get one in return. So I do feel like a lot of us were not grounded, because we were kind of like floating almost, because there was so much going on energetic wise. And that's why I recorded my reading, because there's so much that you're overstimulated. There's so much information that's getting pulled at you, and it was more along not just what she was saying, it was other things that you probably didn't
like
know.
Some things I wasn't even wanting to mention or bring up, and she took charge, and I was like, okay, I guess we're going there. Like,
because your subconscious wanted you.
I guess so. And I guess my spirit, like I know about the spirit guys, because I went through that whole wormhole of spirit guys and like angels, demons, and all that. And she's like, yeah, they've been throwing signs at you like the whole time. I'm like, I know, but I don't want to. I don't want to see what it is. But I see the signs, and like I know it's there, but I haven't really dug that deep into it.
Do you feel a little calmer now, having someone else saying that
I'm not crazy?
Yeah, or maybe that it's not evil energy, that it's...
No, I think I do feel a lot more calmer, that I'm not freaking crazy, and like... because like the more you research, the more you realize things, and like they all come together, and then like you kind of close yourself in that circle.
Okay.
Because people are tired of you talking about it, or like, so it was just cool to hear that, like, yeah,
Right.
you're not crazy. So it was cool.
Nice. Okay.
So,
All right.
yeah.
Drea, what was your experience like in the store, the reading, everything?
I don't know. When we walked in, there was like tables with people sitting there waiting to like do readings, and I was like, "What? This is like a swap meet for like psychics right now." Like, oh man, what's going on?
We love you, Vision Quest.
Yeah, no. But I don't know. I've never been there.
Yeah.
I've drive past it a lot, but never been. So that was interesting. I thought they had like a lot of cool stuff in there.
Yeah.
As far as the reading, though, I mean, I'm still feeling a little skeptical in a sense that I could go get these cards, learn how to read them, and learn what to ask you, and learn what questions to ask you.
Yeah.
She didn't specifically say or bring up anything that made me like have too
personal.
many flags. And it was just a lot of information at once, and it's hard for me to process in the moment like that. Like, I'm the kind of thinker that has to think about what you just said to me, and then I come back with like questions.
Sometimes
I
it
can't
stays
just like
later. It's
I just
weird.
I just don't. If you're like, she's like, well, do you have any questions about what I just told you? I'm like, and I told her, I was like, I'll probably have questions like tomorrow about this, but not right now. Like, this is just too much stimulation.
Yeah.
At one point, she had mentioned a couple things about the band, all good things.
All good things.
Good.
Maybe
Good
a
things.
really
Yeah.
good thing in possibly next year.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
too.
We'll
Yeah.
see, dude.
Yeah.
I did ask her about if animals. I asked if animals wait for you on the other side or how that works, and she's like, "Is there an animal you're just referencing?" I'm like, "Yeah, Jasper." So we kind of went down that rabbit hole, and the cards she pulled, I didn't tell you guys this yet, but one of them was the High Priestess card, and the lady was holding a cat. That was the only time I was like, "What the fuck?"
I really like how Drea's like, I didn't get too much out of it, but here's this direct card that
one
made
thing.
me.
Direct connection.
Damn.
The one thing. And so she basically said he was your soulmate cat. I see his soul coming to you again eventually through another pet. And the way you're going to recognize it is through the eyes, and like you'll know, but you need to stay positive and just pay attention to that. She's like, possibly next year when you're a little more grounded and stable, because right now my living situation is stable, but not. I don't have a lot of independence there.
Did she know that?
No.
Right.
No, we didn't talk about that.
But she knew.
Yeah, it was just weird. Like, it was weird. Like,
Yeah.
the cat, like, the card had the lady was holding a cat in it. I'm like, what?
She's skeptical still, though, guys.
I don't know.
It's
I don't
okay.
know.
It's okay.
Had somebody like a relative came through
Yeah.
and was been like, they're
yeah.
telling me blah blah.
Yeah.
That didn't happen for me, but I also didn't ask, and that was one of the questions I did want to ask. Like, what is my soul's purpose in this realm, and am I on the right path? Like, am I doing the right thing?
What does it all mean?
Yeah, like, what is life's purpose?
We don't have
but
money
am
to
I?
pay for those answers.
yeah. So,
It's gonna be a long session.
So are you on the right path?
Do you feel like you were?
yeah, I think so. I'm
Yeah.
all about manifesting what
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
and getting it that way. I don't need cards to tell me that.
So sorry.
So I don't know. The only thing that like was like, whoa, was the cat thing. So
Yeah.
that's what I got out of it.
So we'll definitely revisit everybody's experience too, because we also got aura photos. We'll talk about that because that was kind of a group thing, unlike the tarot card readings, because that was individual. We all went into a private back room. So, Kat, your experience.
Yeah. Whew. So, yeah, I went in with a specific question in mind, and I didn't tell her until we got partially through the session, and I told her, I have a question in mind. I'm just kind of, contemplating it, meditating on it, but I just want to see what the cards are going to say. I wanted her to guide the session and not get the answers that I wanted to hear, which I think is what happens sometimes in those sessions. So I tried to be really neutral. I tried to approach it, somewhat skeptically in the session. And it was interesting because I felt like the session was guided, or, the oracle, whatever, guided the session, but it wasn't, it was an answer to my question, but it didn't come in the way I thought it would. I had, I guess, specific questions about, like, where physically I'm going to be in my life. And it turned out to be a little bit more involved than that. I don't want to say too much because there's some pretty heavy stuff in there. Some interesting things, though. I've had an energy reading before, and it was interesting that, these two people don't know each other. The person who did my energy reading is a woman in Minnesota. And she had said in that reading that I have trouble staying in my body. This was a few years ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago. And at that time I was like, okay, I don't know exactly what that means. But at the time she told me, don't meditate. Like, you meld with people, you have a hard time staying in your body. And I left that session feeling so weird and just physically sleepy and truly like I wasn't in my body. And I called my friend and I got lost and I was trying to go to work afterwards and I didn't even know where I was driving, and it was like this very strange experience. And the woman who read my cards today said that due to past trauma, my soul left my body and it's just starting to come back now.
What?
And a lot has happened since that and reading with the energy reader and this woman today. And it sounds really wooey, but I feel like maybe there's something to that.
I definitely think so. Yeah. That's something that they've talked about a lot when I was energy classes and everything else too. That, I mean, muscle has memory. Your body remembers things like since you were born, that that your mental capacity doesn't remember whatsoever. And so that is a common thing for people that go through trauma, is to check out in a lot of ways.
And I mean...
And you probably have to do that a lot with the work that you're doing. You're constantly in contact with people. Like, I've talked to other tattooers that sometimes the tattoo machine is an energy conduit. It can
you're touching people.
Yeah, and then plus the vibration of it can increase that. So whatever they have going on too. So it makes absolute sense that you're not always there.
Right. I mean, in the past few years, I think I've made more of a conscious effort to put up more boundaries. Like, I understand, people are grieving, they come in, maybe they want a memorial tattoo, and I can be empathetic, like, hey, I'm really sorry you're going through that, but also not take on all their emotional burden. And I think in the past I used to do that a lot. I'd be like, man, that sucks, let me help you heal from that. And I have to realize, I can be respecting of my space and help them heal from that by giving them the design that they want. Right. And still, I guess, retain my anonymity from that, or my autonomy from that. But yeah, I think, I don't know if it's work related. I mean, I've been through some stuff, but, it was interesting how she picked up on that. And I think my life has, I feel more purpose driven in the past few years. Yeah. And she picked up on that too and was like, okay, you know what you want. You don't want to be pulled in other directions by people. She said I need to heal some of my chakras, which I saw a chiropractor once, said the exact same thing about the same chakras, which was really weird. And I thought he was a total crackpot when I saw him, honestly. He was like, you need to hula hoop more. And I was like, okay, buddy. I was like,
let's keep it clean.
Yeah, by the way, I already have a hula hoop, so.
You hula hoop.
Like, all right, creep. Yeah, there's a lot about my career. Some relationship stuff that was pretty spot on. Yeah, I was pretty inspired by all of that. And I left with that same weird kind of out of body feeling. Yeah. Like I was taking it all in, and then I kind of felt just whoa, a little bit overwhelmed. Yeah. Felt like a little pressure in my chest, and yeah, that was a lot. Kind of got emotional. I felt that.
Wow. Good stuff.
What about you, Angel?
So, mine was really interesting. All over the place, just like me as a person. not to go into some things I'd like to keep private, but they did call out some things like relationship-wise that were really, really spot on. Positive things, but just definitely, I had certain questions going into it. And then the reading, it answered that, but it also went on all these different other directions. And there were specific things that were called out that I didn't even expect and also made sense. I did have someone come through. It was a grandmother. And it was interesting because I didn't know which grandma at first, but she was referencing to jewelry, like a lot of jewelry. And I have one specific grandma that I got a ton of her jewelry left over. And her description was basically spot on as to what she's trying to tell me, which is to, trust more myself and to understand that I'm, I guess, again, empathic. And they say that I'm a medium of sorts and have been seeing signs and things that I'm almost scared of my energy, which I know in the past episodes, like Sound Sisters, I've talked about that and how like I've seen things or experienced things, but it's always scared me. And she has told me you have protection. And she also said to me that I don't deal well with like the bad or negative. Because like, for instance, like, going back to like paganism or other types of beliefs, there's like the dark side and there's the good side. And apparently she's like, you don't do well with the bad at all. And you have to be more careful of what you're picking up on other people and how I need to like, protect myself, cut more cords. And she also,
I think all of us, I think she mentioned that all of us need to cut some cords. I copied that video too.
Yeah.
I want to practice
exercise. She did say that. And then
she did show me that. She's like, look at this when you have time. I'm like, what? Okay.
Well, and I just think that there's interesting things that there was a common thread around some of our readings, and I don't believe that it was like, oh, I'm going to make this common. I think that it was, okay, well, maybe that's what draws us all together as people, a group of people. Because, like, for instance, like, I mean, we've all had different relationships outside this, but it wasn't until like podcasts came together that we really became close. And like, and Kat, we've only hung out a handful of times, but you're a sister. And like, I think a lot of it is just unspoken and it's already been there because it's outside of what's going on. Like,
it feels really right with you guys.
Yeah.
It just feels really easy.
Yeah, for sure. And some of the things, like even the podcast she was talking about, she's like, you need to not be afraid of this. Like, because you're naturally good at this. And she picked up on, like, you're a creator. You've always been a creator. You've been, there's just certain things that was just, like, spot on that she talked about, even when it came to career-wise. So I felt afterwards, like, a huge weight was, like, lifted off my shoulders. I felt that I felt that I was like bogged down by things, and I was almost afraid of like unspoken negativity or things that were attached to me. But she like reassured me that no, you live in the light, you have positivity. And she also called out that I'm one of the things that, to get a little personal, I've been scared about is whether or not I should someday have a kid or not, and whenever that time is right for me. And I've been nervous, like, am I gonna be a good mother? Am I gonna be a good mother? And she's like, you don't need to worry about that because you're a mother to everyone. Everyone views you as that. You're always taking care of people and you're always that way. And I was like, holy crap. Like, I never realized that, And so, and that's another interesting segue because the other lady that was at the counter that completely separately did our aura photos said the exact same thing too.
Yeah.
And part of me is always like, okay, is this like, I don't know if you guys saw the movie Leap of Faith, where they like, where there's like a preacher that's like hearing in the microphones like little tidbits of people. I'm like, is that what's going on? Are they telling me I'm psychic because they want me to buy some crystals because it's working? There's like all these skeptical things, but I do know when I walked away how I felt, and doing energy and body work and going to school and being around certain things, I know that my body was in certain ways, and I knew that there was truth to what she said that resonated within me.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's talk about our aura photos. Oh, wait,
can I talk about my car? Because
that
was really weird.
Talk about that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That was just a very random, like not, secretive thing. I guess nothing that I need to keep private. But this morning, we're supposed to be meeting and go to my car to start it. and click, 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 it seems like the alternator's gone out. So I have to do a car switcheroo, end up being like, 10, 15 minutes late to meet up with everybody. And in the middle of the reading, she says, hey, what's going on with your car? It's like, oh, well, interesting enough. Yeah, it's not working presently. And I it's only a few hours into the day, so diagnostically, I don't even know what's wrong with it. But she's like, yeah, I see a new car in your future, and don't let your husband or his friends work on it.
Oh, man.
And what's really weird is I was going to offer my brother to help her out, too. And I was like, no, I'm not going to.
You might be safe.
I don't know. They see a new car. Let's go with it.
All right, so, yeah.
So let's talk about, like, the aura photos that we got. That was interesting.
Oh.
Real
Yes.
quick, one of the crazy things about that was I enjoyed, there was like a psychic that was at a table that was near there, and she was watching my screen, and she was shaking her head in agreement when she saw my aura. And I'm like, I don't know what this means. And she just kept saying, and looking at me, and she's like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
That's what she was saying to you? I didn't hear
She
that.
just, because I think deep
That
down
woman with the
inside,
dark hair?
because deep down inside, that's what my psychic also told me, that she's like, you're afraid of your own power. Like, you're afraid that, And it was just so crazy because there was a different person just there sitting there like, yeah, that makes sense. I see that too. I'm all, okay.
What do you see?
Gabby, you got the most in-depth one. Let's hear your
I'm trying to
takeaways.
remember. I have a 27-page packet here
Oh my gosh.
that they gave me. Actually, 23-page, my bad. Apparently I'm an alien or something.
Yes,
I don't even.
that was the most exciting
No, it was
part.
weird because like,
So jealous.
because I asked her about it. I'm like, what is this extraterrestrial thing that you talk about? And she's like, well, yeah, in your dreams, like you either like they communicate through your dreams or like just something around those lines. I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of information. And I'm like, shit, man, I always have weird fucking dreams.
Your sleep paralysis.
And the sleep paralysis,
yeah.
dreams, and then, like, I'm always telling Drea, like, dude, I totally dreamed this thing I just saw, like, today or yesterday, and, like, so I guess I have to do more research on that. And that's what terrifies me, because paralysis is supposed to be involved with fucking aliens and UFOs.
Right.
And I don't want that.
I had grays outside of my bedroom window once in a sleep paralysis dream.
Fuck. See, I don't open my eyes, though. Did you open your eyes?
I don't even know. It was, one of those, like, I was
I
paralyzed.
usually see, like,
I don't know
demons
if I
and
was
shit,
open.
but,
I saw a
like-
black shadow once. I've only had paralyzing sleep a couple times, and it's always when I'm
See,
super stressed out.
Yeah,
but-
same here. And usually I know how to get myself out of the paralysis because I
Yeah.
used to have it so much that I learned how to get out of it. But I don't know. I'm just trying to remember my.
Well, what was really interesting is me and Drea Wow.
Oh,
Drea
that's right,
Doll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have the exact same aura.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
Yeah.
it was the same as you took an aura photo about a few weeks ago too, right?
Right, yeah, a couple weeks ago, and both photos look the same.
Yeah,
which
same
is weird,
colors.
but I've been trying to like work hard on my aura since I had that first one. Like,
Yeah. So why don't
Yeah.
you talk about what she was saying to us? Because she kind of did a group one between the two of us.
basically, like, we're artistic people. We're very
Lies.
I don't know. Artistic, physical, creative expression, excitement. She did say that you were motherly in your picture,
She
which
did.
was crazy.
Made me feel good.
You have a little bit more red around yours. I think she talked about that. And you have a little bit more green on your hand, Angela.
Yeah, and that was self-healing and energy, which was interesting because of the massage therapy energy work that I used to do. She tied it into that, but carry on, Drea. Yeah,
No, basically, yeah, we're just artistic, creative people. What was the other one?
wisdom and love,
Yeah.
contentment, happiness and relationships.
Yeah, there you go.
She also called out that on my crown I have like someone that's following me, a past loved one, which is exactly what the other psychic had said. And I know for a fact that psychic went to lunch afterwards because they booked that because they knew she'd be depleted of energy. With
I
like,
noticed that too.
Yeah.
I noticed that too.
Wow.
Did you know?
She like took off, yeah.
Did you
failed.
notice that after the first one,
Yeah,
I was the
dude, I
only
saw
one.
that.
She like went up to another psychic and took a deep breath, and then they sprayed something
Yeah,
over her.
they
And
did.
yes,
Yes,
that
I
was
saw
after
it.
me.
I saw it. And I'm like, after that, she's like, okay, who's next? I'm like, fuck.
Whoa.
Yeah, and she didn't do it to
What was that
anyone.
about?
She didn't do that that to anyone else.
Medium?
I
Is it
guess.
like a medium
I don't
to
know.
medium?
Maybe it was.
Drained her.
Yeah.
I guess I
Drained her.
drained the crap out of her. I know.
Yeah.
I'm a lot for some people. I mean, there are
And you
people.
didn't even tip her.
I wanted to. I'm gonna go back and do it. I wanted to. I ended up getting an aura photo because everyone else did, but the intention was there. The intention was there. I'm gonna go back, please.
I wonder what that spray was.
I'm gonna go back to
Yeah.
see
Yeah.
her.
What
Yeah.
was that?
You know,
Probably essential oils and different things to help like clear,
The-
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, clear the air.
it's
But
crazy.
yeah, because I mean, truthfully, when I'm having a bad day or something, or I'm in a bad mood, or I'm feeling icky, there's certain people that I stay away from, and I usually shelter because I know I'm a lot for people. So,
Wow, interesting.
I'm a lot.
My chakra report, I have graphs in there too. I'm gonna have to go really in depth into this thing.
You have to
'cause it's
post
got
all
graphs
these
and
charts.
all kinds of
It's
weird
very
things.
scientific.
It
She
is.
also said some other stuff that was interesting in yours, Drea, that had to do. Wasn't it on the side, like a little bit more? Like, was that the pink that we were talking about?
I think it was the red. I think she said there was a little
Yeah.
bit more red around Drea.
Yeah.
It was
So
weird
it's-
though, because when we were standing there, she's like almost done talking to us, and then she's like, "Hold on, this is coming through." I'm like, "What's coming through?"
Yeah.
You're the checkout lady. I didn't know you
I'm like,
could do
"What's
that."
coming through?" When she said, "They're telling me you need to start expressing who you really are in your story," or something like that.
Yeah.
Which I was
What
like,
you've
"What the
been through."
fuck?" Like that's
Which
not
you've
the
been
first time I've
told
heard that.
by
By a few people,
friends.
yeah. Like, speak your truth.
So do you feel a little bit more validity in the aura photos?
Oh, for sure.
Then-
Definitely more the aura photos than maybe the cards. I mean,
really?
yeah.
Do you feel there was validity in her as a medium though?
The lady we
Yeah.
with you guys, yeah.
And for you, so yours is more just still a little skeptic.
I would, yeah.
With the
I think I would need
cards.
to like do it again because I went in. I didn't have any questions in mind. I wasn't in that mindset. I was just
Right.
like, whatever happens, happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like, "You're not real."
Yeah.
Which we need that perspective. We
Yeah.
with Grave
Yeah.
Sisters, we talked about this, that we need to present both sides. Like, we're not here to tell you the truth. Like, we're here to
We don't
question.
know the truth.
We don't
Yeah,
know the
we
truth.
don't.
We never will. We're gonna
Yeah.
question it all, and that's where we're gonna go with that.
Yeah, talking about an experience.
I just love that, sister. We got the same aura.
yeah,
Yes.
that's so
That's
cool.
weird.
But what's even more interesting is ours are similar, and then Gaby's is very similar to us, but she has pink that transitions to yours.
Right.
So it's like two of us. Gabby was the middle one, and then it
Yeah.
Yeah.
was.
Together, we're like a spectrum of color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little rainbow. Just
Let's
kinda
talk
cool.
about yours. Yours was
Yeah.
the
That's so
most
special.
interesting.
Yeah.
That really
There
weirded
was,
me out.
yeah.
Just waiting there, like, why does mine look like this?
Right.
Why is it really pink? And I don't know. I love color. I'm an artist. I feel strongly about certain colors, and I do not identify with pink. So that was really weird. First of all, I'm like, I love turquoise. Like, that's my favorite color. And I go through color phases, but it was really strange when I was in the booth. I'm just sitting there, and she's like, okay, so relax, put your left hand on this little machine, and you put your hand on the little machine, and there's the dots. And I just kind of spaced out because I was still really feeling weird from the tarot reading
Yeah.
and kind of processing all of that. And so I just kind of zoned out looking at this blanket. And somebody said something, and I looked at the woman operating the machine, Ashley, and I was like, whoa, sorry, I zoned out for a second. And she's like, oh, I did too.
Yes.
I did look
Meanwhile,
over too, yeah.
meanwhile, we're looking at the screen, and it's like changing colors
Yeah.
drastically in and out, and that's
Yeah.
what we had said, and that's what
Yeah.
took you guys. She went on
Yeah.
a trip with you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we went on a little voyage.
Yeah.
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 So I'm like, it's so quiet over there, and then that's when you're like,
Yeah, I was like,
"Whoa,
I don't know if I'm
I
waiting
thought
for
you were.
something to
I thought you were
calibrate or-
posing. You
I
look
don't
so
know.
peaceful and like look at it. She's so
Yeah,
zen.
that's what kind of brought me out of it.
She's
You're
so
like, oh,
zen.
that's right. You're turning your head, like trying to get a good photo, and it's like, oh my god, I don't even know what I'm doing. Like, you're just like staring at the stars on this blanket, like la la la, outer space. But yeah, so confirmed, I come from the stars, people. I come from outer space.
From far, far away.
I don't know.
You don't know where.
We don't even
Yeah.
know where.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was really bummed because I saw the green mirrors and I was like, that means ETs. I want to be extraterrestrial. And I saw the pink and I was like, man, what a bummer. I'm not an extraterrestrial.
You even saw like ours that
Far
was
beyond.
like. You're like, how is theirs good? But I'm the freaking artist here.
And mine doesn't say anything about being artistic. Like, what a bummer.
But little did she know she had all the colors at one point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because this is what
Because
they
I don't know. Who knows? I was on a space voyage when they were taking my aura photo. So
they say you, or what were they? What is it? Transform, or what did they say?
Yeah, she said shapeshifter,
Yeah.
which honestly creeps me out.
Yeah.
But that kind of ties into what the tarot card reader said too, and the energy healer, where they're like, you're not really in your body.
Yeah.
So that's like 3 different instances
Right.
of people who study this sort of thing telling me that I'm like just floating around out there.
Who are you, Kat?
I don't know.
Well, I thought she even said that the fact that it changed colors, she goes, this doesn't happen very often because you had a so we should have probably talked a little bit about the semantics and how the aura photos technically work. You're sitting in a booth. Well, this particular one, I guess it happens with different ways and different aura photos. But this one, you put your hand onto this thing that has some metal little I don't know. They're like little sensors that's connected to a computer that has program software, and then they're getting a reading, and then all of a sudden when it's there, then the photo's taken. And so then that's where the interpretation was. And I thought it was point blank. And I thought, okay, this person's checking us out, right? Meaning she's the person taking money. And if people are like purchasing things, she's the one that helps them with that transaction. Not trying to downplay her job whatsoever, because obviously she was in that family of that. But I had no idea that she straight up was going to hear some stuff and do a reading in addition to outside of the photo itself. She goes, bear with me. I'm not too, versed in this. And then she, gave it like a boss, dude.
Yeah.
She just said everything. It was insane.
Yeah.
And she did say that yours was it was almost like you had all the colors. You had ours.
Yeah.
And then you had a blue one, which is your favorite color, the turquoise.
Yeah, I was like, okay,
right?
good. Got some turquoise.
And then it finally landed there. It was like, okay, this is the point in time that my aura is going to be, but it probably changed immediately after.
But was I in my body even when that was happening? I don't even know.
So what does yours mean? What do the colors mean again?
This says competitive, energetic, excitement, passion, willpower. Like, okay, yeah, valid. But then she went on about, how I have an animal totem. Do I identify with animals? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. I have a ton of animals.
Right.
They're my babies.
Your name's Kat.
My name's Kat. I'm named after it. And saying I was from, outer space, and asked me if I knew about, Palladians, and saying I'm from all kinds of places, but we don't know where. And
I don't know where you're from, lady. You're all Minnesota.
Yeah. I know where I was born. Pretty sure it wasn't outer space, but I don't know.
Okay, well, so we're gonna go ahead and take a quick break, and we'll be back with our expert, Colleen Dolly Sinclair. And we're back, and we have on the line Colleen Dolly Sinclair, owner of Siphon Draw Apothecary in Goldfield Ghost. She has over 30 years experience reading tarot cards, amongst other things, and we're excited to have her on here as our expert speaker on the subject. Welcome, Colleen. Thanks for being here. We are so glad to have you back. I know, as I explained to you, the Grave Sister podcast is the creepy sister of the Sound Sister podcast, but we had you on our small business Saturday for Black Friday almost a year ago. Wow. It's coming up on a year this November, but you had so many different insights in this realm, so we're excited to hear what you have to say for us. So let's go ahead before we dive into our readings and any questions we may have. If you can give a brief overview, not just of your experience of tarot cards, but any sort of divinations, just your experience, your background, and also maybe plug a little bit what you do during the daytime, as far as your business over Goldfield Ghost Town.
All right. Wow, I'm not sure exactly where to begin, but I guess I've had some freaky experiences from the time I was a little kid, and I have not been formally trained, if you can be formally trained by anyone. So I'm not how would I put it, poisoned with anybody's ideas of how it's supposed to be. So the way that I've connected and the experiences that I've had have been just real and raw. And at first I had no idea what was going on. I know as a child, I used to have such lucid, vivid dreams that they seemed so real that I brought them into the time during the day when I was actually awake, and they were real. Like anyway, I connect in my dreams a lot. And the way tarot got introduced to me was a friend when I was 18 gave me a tarot deck. I had no idea what they were or why she was giving them to me, but I just start reading the book and learning about them, and I pulled the cards out, and I felt a connection with them. And I don't read tarot cards like most people do. For me, it's a tool to use to receive messages from wherever I'm receiving messages from. Typically, it's some sort of energy or person that's trying to maybe get a message across. And I try really hard not to believe that it's true. But when you're reading tarot cards for a man you don't know, for instance, and you make them cry with the first few things you say to them, you hit a raw spot, that kind of convinces you, especially when you talk to people who don't believe it. And then when you have experiences where you see something happen in detail for someone you absolutely don't know, and then that thing happens to them. Anyway, yeah, I've had a lot of weird experiences like that. And I think I'm getting off track here. You guys are having me talk about some stuff that I don't talk about to most people.
Sure.
So it kind of reaches deep inside. But besides for that, it's not my profession, but I do have a lot of experiences that I could talk about. And I have read tarot cards for a lot of people. I don't do it professionally. One reason is it makes me really tired when I do it. I haven't mastered the protecting myself, the energy thing. And there's been quite a few times where I'll read tarot or have some sort of an experience, and then I fall asleep for hours after that because I'm so tired.
Yeah.
But other than that, I am a holistic nutritionist that creates and formulates non-toxic skincare products. And I own Siphon Draw Apothecary out at the Goldfield Ghost town. And yes, there's ghosts there, in my opinion. But I have never come across any that were super scary. So
Nice.
that's pretty cool. There is one chick there, though, that she's kind of a bitch. But I don't care if she's a ghost or what, I'll fight her.
Well, and also to some listeners, they don't know, you used to be in roller derby as well, too. Loving punk rock since you were a kid. So that's why you were one of the perfect fit for this episode. So, because you have many different layers that match our own interests. So.
It is. I used to be a tattoo artist too. I did tattoo. Yeah, I did. I learned from Jim Watson.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, he's legendary.
Yeah, I apprenticed with Jim Watson, and but I did some tattooing. I wasn't very good, but I did mostly permanent makeup.
Okay.
And I did it for 20 years, and I was really good at that. I enjoyed it. And then I also, I played roller derby. I went to the skate park this morning. I was skating around in the hell of summer here in Arizona.
Good for you.
Nice. That's so cool. So, all right.
That's interesting because earlier we were talking about a topic of being a tattoo artist and also energy, because I've heard from other tattooers that sometimes picking up on that energy can be almost heightened because of the energy within the machine.
Yeah. Well, it's electric. Electricity is a great conductor of the energy.
Good
so
point.
Absolutely, yeah.
Interesting. Great. So as far as tarot readings go, some of the research we did was basically when you get a tarot reading done, or you even can read your own if you're able to be neutral, which is very difficult to do. It a lot of times has to do with yourself knowing the higher message. Is that something that you've experienced too, like when you've done?
So I don't read tarot cards for myself very often because how can you be biased?
Right, that's what I was thinking too. It's really
rough. But I have done it a couple times, and I have my favorite tarot deck ever right now. And when I first got it, I knew it was like the tarot deck I've been waiting for my whole life. And I did read my own tarot with it, and it was just super weird, uncanny, and I was like, whoa, it was just like right on first 3 cards. And but I still don't do it very often for myself. Gotcha. And it's funny, my daughter at the time was dating somebody that we weren't a huge fan of. Don't hate the guy or anything, but there were a lot of issues. And the tarot, I was reading her tarot, and he was sitting right there, and everything was like just so like, you're like to take care of people that are irresponsible. Don't want to admit when they're wrong. People that know everything. Like, it was just like totally him. It was like me being able to tell him the things I wanted to tell him without directly telling him.
Excellent. So if you don't mind discussing, you've probably had lots of experience yourself when other people read your tarot cards. Is there certain, people that you go to for that, or is that something that you do on a regular basis, or anything worth sharing?
So yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of the different experiences I've had. I have had some great experiences, and I've had some that were definitely scams.
Oh.
And that experience right there was not good. The girl was telling me a bunch of things to try and get me to sign up and spend a whole bunch of money on some BS, telling me that bad things about my relationship that were totally not true. And it's like, oh, he's possessed by some evil and doesn't really love you, and blah, blah, blah.
Wow, that escalated quickly. Jeez.
Yeah, I was like, are you stupid? You don't even know me and him. So way off right now. Maybe most people might have that issue, but not here. And and then the next sentence was, you need to give me $275 right now to help me remove this evil spirit.
Oh no.
Lady, you're the evil spirit later. But then I've had other experiences where people give me some great information and say some uplifting things that are exactly what I needed to hear. And I don't know. For me, the tarot is more of a tool. I usually speak to people that are connecting to the other side, people that have died, people who have passed. So it's like a way to give some more messages. It's some tools. That wasn't really experiences there, huh?
Sure. No, but that's great insights.
I have a question, and I don't know if this is true or not, but are you supposed to be gifted a tarot deck in order to use it, or is that something you can purchase for yourself?
That is a great question. So, well, like I said, I've not been formally trained, but I hear things, and I've heard that too. Like, there's certain things that are better gifted. And my first tarot deck was gifted.
Right.
The tarot deck that I have right now was not gifted. Someone sent me a link to show me this tarot deck that I have right now because they're just beautiful, and I didn't buy them because I was like, no, I can't buy my own tarot deck. You can't do that. That's just weird. It doesn't feel right. And then I was on vacation in Kauai, and I was having the most magical time ever, and I went into this super cool little shop, and there was the tarot deck just laid out right in front of me for sale.
Oh.
And it was the only one they had, and there was like nobody in the store. And I'm just like, okay, this is too weird. I think that I'm supposed to have this tarot deck.
Sure.
So I bought the tarot deck, and it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't, this is a whole nother topic. So I have 2 tarot decks. I have the one I'm talking about that I love, that's real personal, and I don't use it on everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have another tarot deck that I use sometimes if I'm going to do it for strangers or people I don't know, because I feel that the energy goes into those cards.
Okay.
And I've also experienced the tarot deck one of my friends messaged me and said she has this tarot deck and she got it for free and it's cool, but everybody's telling her it's bad and she doesn't want it and she doesn't know what to do with it. And she brought it to our little roller derby event, and dude, those tarot cards, I put them in my hands and immediately I felt like throwing up.
Wow.
Loaded with just such bad, evil badness. Like, I don't know what was going on there or where they came from, but I literally felt sick to my stomach. Okay. And I don't know what she did. I think she might have buried them or something.
Interesting.
But, yeah. Wow. So as far as being gifted a tarot deck, I think yes, but in that scenario, what happened to me, I almost feel like it was like presented to me.
Sure. Right.
Like, you need these tarot decks. No, I can't buy it myself. Well, here it is, right here on this tropical island. You're having the best time of your life.
Well, and I think that that's interesting that you say that, because the person that did our readings, it was a combination between being a medium and a tarot. She also talked on, not with all of us, but some of us had someone past come through for my specific reading. And that was interesting because she was using them, like you said, as a tool. And it was crazy because right away she says that you're a medium and you're scared of certain things inside you and you need to be more confident in basically the goodness in which you have. Like, you stop being scared of those things. Do you feel as a person, do you walk around and bam, you're hit with that? Or do you kind of find yourself unintentionally reading people? Or is it only, or is it like a switch that you could turn off and on?
I think for me, at this point in my life, it is a switch that I turn off and on, but I can't always control that. And sometimes when I'm in an area where there's a lot of people, like unfortunately concerts, if I go to a concert and there's a whole bunch of people around me, I used to have a great time, but every so often I gotta leave. Like, I immediately have to leave because there's so much energy.
Yes.
It's not always good. And it feels overwhelming, and I just got to get away from all these people. There's times where I look at somebody's face and I'm like, she's pissed off. He's having the time of his life. That guy's a spoiled brat. This girl right here is waiting for so-and-so to hurry up. Like, I could see the feelings. It's just weird. It's the weirdest thing to experience, and it's really overwhelming. And then I sit here and go, am I judging people? Where are these thoughts coming from? But I don't typically judge people. It's definitely, I could feel the feeling of what they're experiencing. So sadness, happiness, all of it.
That's so interesting, because we were just talking about that on a break, because that's one other thing she said. She's like, you're empathic and you don't really realize it. And I was telling Drea that sometimes when I'm at concerts, it's a lot. And I'm like, cool, I'm just going to get drunk instead. So I just ignore everything. Just ignore it all.
I think I did that for years.
Yeah. And you don't really realize it. And I'm like, why am I so anxious right now? Why am I so pissed off? But I used to think it was a bartender thing, because I'm like, okay, this guy wants to fuck this girl and this guy wants to do, like, I can tell who was hooking up with who. And I thought it was the bartender gift. I still don't know what it is, but I just find it's very interesting.
I don't think it's so supernatural. It's not even like, it's totally real. We all feel energy. Right. If you walk in a room and you're being a dick, and everybody's watching you be a dick, you're going to bring the whole room down. Everybody's going to react to it. They're going to feel the feelings. So that energy is shared. Right. And people don't maybe acknowledge it so much, or some people are more sensitive to it than others. But it's not something that's like, woohoo, it's made up. It's scientifically proven that energy is real. So if it's, you're going to feel it.
We only use part of our brain.
Yeah. I think we've been unconditioned too, to kind of suppress those feelings, to disregard them, because there's so many situations where you don't have the option to not participate. And so you just have to go into it. I don't know. I feel like I've shut off a lot of that. Yeah. And have rediscovered it again, like, oh, that person sucks. Like, that person's really nasty and negative. And once you start acknowledging it and trusting your gut, you're like a lot more open to feeling that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, she also discussed different things, to kind of clear the way. She was discussing it almost like you say, that everyone needs a clearing. So she discussed like cutting the cord type situations, Epsom salt baths, things like that. You as a person that is in the naturopathic industry, like what do you recommend when you're trying to ground yourself or cleanse?
That's a good question. So take your take your shoes off and put your feet on the ground outside to help you ground yourself to the earth. The electric frequencies from the earth helps to calm your nervous system and literally ground you. So that's one thing you could do.
But don't hit the dirt. Just kidding. That's from earlier.
Oh no, it's too late.
I made so many mud pies and fed them to my sister and my nephew.
I love it. That's why she's got good skin.
Yeah. But other than like the grounding part, to clear yourself, sound, I'm really into sound. Mm-hmm. So certain frequencies help to do some clearing. Burning sage is a sacred ceremony you can do to do some clearing. Another thing that I do is a vibrational cleanse. I use this little chime, and it's pretty loud. You want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay. Give me a second. It's going to take me a second.
That's really interesting while she's searching for that, because I forgot in part of our reading, she was talking about frequency waves of which fear and love are in. And she said that I often am acting in fear, and that's why, but love is higher. Yeah.
She told me that too, though.
Oh,
come on. Well, you guys have the same aura, so.
True.
All right, so I got the chime. And the vibrational cleanse, I usually, you don't have to say anything when you do this, but I do. So I believe that there's a lot of people that pass away who stay here, and they don't realize they're here, and they attach themselves to people, and they live through them, and they're confused. Some people don't believe there is an afterlife. So when they die, and they still exist to some confused degree, they don't realize they're dead. So they attach themselves to people. So when I use this chime, it gets their attention. And I'll do the chime and I'll say something I typically say. You ready?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got my attention.
That'll do it.
But I'm pretty sure I'm living.
What I would say, say it's for myself, I'd say, my name is Colleen Sinclair. Today is, what's the date? Today is July 21st, 2020. Is that right? 2019. Wow, I don't even know the date.
19.
I wanted to say 19 something. Maybe there's something attached to me right now. Anyway, so it's 2019, July 20th, 21st. This is my life. This is my body. I'm living it, and I'm not sharing it with anyone else. So anybody else that's here, you need to look for your family who has been deceased prior to you, and they're there to help you to move on to the next place. But you're not welcome to stay with me and move on.
I just got chills.
So that it's kind of like they're listening because I just got their attention, and they're like, wait a minute, I'm not Colleen Sinclair. It's not July 21st, 2019. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then hopefully that gets their attention and gets them to go.
Wow. Interesting. That is interesting.
Huh. And then I burn sage and that sort of thing. But sage right now it's a sacred plant that has been not ethically harvested, and so it there's an issue with that right now as far as any herbalist selling it or any shop selling it. It's kind of like exploiting it. We got to leave it alone for a while. So one of my friends recently, she grew a bunch of sage here in the desert, which is super cool. And so I have some, but I don't participate in selling it or buying it from big retailers anymore.
Yeah. Wow.
So the vibrational cleanse is a lot easier. Nothing's going to catch on fire. And it works. Pretty effective.
Yeah. Great.
All right.
How did you discover that frequency? Because I'm sure it's a specific tone.
I worked at a doctor's office where they were very open about all of these things, and we shared a lot of information. And one of the ladies I worked with there, she brought it, and she showed it to me. And then I went and got me one too.
Nice.
And we would do it whenever we felt like we needed to in the office. We'd say, "Do you want to get dinged today? You want a dinghy? Let's do the dinghy."
It's a technical term.
Yeah, it's the dinghy.
So we also participated in aura photos. Do you have experience in that?
No, I don't have experience with that.
And moving on. I'm just kidding. Well, it was really interesting while you were trying to look for your instrument. One of the things that came back to me in the reading was they were talking about different frequencies, and she wrote down the different frequencies in which love and hate works, or not love and fear. And so she told me, you're working through a lot through fear, and you need to work through, act through love. And Drea, who's a little skeptical, is like, she said the same thing to me. I mean, but do you?
And she wrote it down for me.
She did to me, but
she
she only wrote down a little bit for me, but not quite in that in depth. I don't know.
Here's a big secret about that. Most people are working through fear.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's our natural, it comes natural to us to work through fear. That's why everybody's so interested in the negative information and the bad things that are happening, because naturally you want to protect yourself. It comes from the caveman days. You got the fight or flight or rest and digest, the parasympathetic nervous system, the sympathetic nervous system. So we're always looking to protect ourselves. And if you've ever experienced trauma in your life, which most people have, it triggers the fear, and then you kind of live through that pretty often. That's something that most people need to work on and realize that that's what you are doing, because it's not necessary. You don't have a big old tiger chasing you right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
And whatever that trauma was that happened, it's not continually happening, but until you heal from it, it stays with you.
Okay. So how you said that you received a lot of bad tarot readings, some that were frauds and some great ones. What do you recommend to listeners trying to sift through the good and the bad, is what I'm trying to say?
I think the recommendation would be to get a recommendation.
Okay.
Yeah, get a recommendation from someone you know and trust that has actually experienced a reading with someone, or knows somebody that has, that it felt right, that it didn't feel like bullshit. A lot of people are full of shit and just trying to make a buck. And that's partially why I have a hard time doing it professionally too, is I don't always get a connection with everyone, and I don't always get a message, and it's not always clear, and I don't always feel like doing it. So every so often when I feel like it and somebody asks me, and if I feel like it's right, I do it. And when I do it that way, my information is typically accurate. And like the man, for instance, I'm talking about, it was at the apothecary, and him and this girl came in, and they thought it would be really fun for me to read, or somebody to read their tarot cards. And he was like, "Do you read tarot cards? Somebody read tarot cards." Like this was being silly, like blah, blah, blah. And like, well, I have tarot cards. He's like, "Will you do it, please, please?" And I don't do that. He's like, "But I really want you to do that." And I'm like, "All right, I'll do it." So I did it. And within like two cards, I had him pull 2 cards. The guy was crying.
Oh my
gosh.
Wow.
The card meant, and I told him what I was feeling from him, there was something, he just recently had something traumatic happen. His whole life changed, and he's depressed, and he's like was grasping to just anything around him to try and, you know, recover from the trauma. And the woman he was with wasn't his wife, it was just somebody he's dating, but I didn't know that. And he was trying to impress her and create some sort of a relationship. And I tapped into that immediately with the cards. The cards told me, and there was someone who had died, I think it was his wife, who was basically telling me to tell him it's okay to live your life and be happy.
Wow.
And he, that's not what he wanted to talk about, but it was exactly what he needed to hear. And I think she needed to hear it with him to be able to connect with him as a real person, to be like, wow, this dude just had a traumatic event. Me and him are having a good time. He's got feelings, and now we can like move forward with some realness.
Wow, what a gift.
Yeah.
What a gift you gave that person.
Yeah, and I don't charge when I do this, because I don't think that people who do it shouldn't charge, I think it's okay to make an abundant living doing whatever you do well. But for me, I just can't do that on a regular basis. It drains me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to do it professionally if I can't be consistent with every person that wants me to do it.
Sure.
Or I haven't figured that out yet. Maybe other people that are doing it professionally have.
Well, we noticed that the woman who, well, I didn't notice it actually, but you guys did. Well, you guys should talk about what happened after Angela had her reading.
Oh, so she, like I said, she said what she did about, like, we went into in-depth subjects, but one of the things she's said was like, you know, you're a medium and you're not listening to all these voices, you're empathic. But like me, I've always in my mind thought all of us have those gifts. It's just, you know, and so, but afterwards, but I don't know, let me backtrack. I've always been told I kind of have like, I feel like I project a lot of energy. I could be a lot for people. Like I get so excited, you know, and yeah. And I think it's a lot for a lot of people, but after the reading, and it was only half an hour, I saw her around another person that was a psychic that had worked there, and she took a deep breath and the person sprayed over her.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, but she only did that after me. And but it was interesting because in the back of my mind, I've always been afraid, like, I love light, but I'm always afraid that that's not, if there's something on me that isn't light, you know, I've always been afraid of the dark. And she keeps telling me, don't be afraid of like what you have. But then part of me is like, well, why are you cleansing yourself after me and not everybody else? Like, it made me feel weird. It made me feel like, oh, like, dude, I thought you just told me that, because she even said to me, because I've talked about certain spiritual things that I'm going through, trying to figure out, you know, I was always going in this direction more than like paganism, natural things. But then I was raised Catholic. I'm going back and forth in my head all the time. And she's like, you don't work well in darkness. Like when you have darkness around you, that's not for you. So don't worry about that. That's kind of ultimately what she said. But again, I'm like, girl, then why are you cleansing? What did I do to you? I thought we were cool. Yeah.
I met somebody, a doctor actually, who she would do energy work. And after she would spray lavender. Lavender
Right.
helped her cleanse the negative energy out of the room.
So yeah, I don't know what she sprayed, but I was like, but then she went off and did the 3 other readings, and she didn't do that. And I was the first person. So I'm like, I don't know.
Huh. You evil thing, you.
Oh no.
You're not evil. Oh, this is going to sound crazy, but the more good you do, the more the dark is attracted. It's just balance. It's just part of the balance of the action of everything. So,
Gotcha. Interesting.
I wouldn't be too concerned.
Right.
I won't do a Ouija board.
Ooh.
No,
comes up a lot here.
I won't do a Ouija board personally, because I know that I already have enough action. I don't need more.
Right.
And if anybody wants to give me a message for someone or for myself, they usually get it to me. And the Ouija board for me personally would be more like asking for trouble. like trying to search and find something. But that would be something dark for me personally.
Well, when I was younger, I did, and I think that's part of what's always been in the back of my mind. Did something attach? Is this, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
we can get rid of it.
nice. I love it.
I flip the energies off sometimes. I just tell them to get the hell out, leave me alone. And like, once again, this is my life. You're alive. They're not. They gotta go. They gotta go.
You gots to go.
That's no.
You have your eviction notice.
Yeah, like, pathetic. Move on.
That's great.
Better get some lavender oil up in here.
I know. Spray yourself down.
No, Myra from Bad Cup had sent us a meme, and it said it was like a little cartoon playing with the Ouija board, and it says, "Are any spirits here?" And it points to yes. And the little cartoon goes, "Okay, then your portion of the rent is $6.50 a month," and the ghost is like, "Fuck."
Exactly.
Great.
Start pulling your weight.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it. So there's a video I want to find. I'm having a hard time finding it because I've switched computers a couple times and it's on my old computer, but it's probably in my files somewhere. But my son didn't really dig me talking about this sort of stuff when he was younger. He thought it was embarrassing, and it was he didn't think it was real. So, and I was like, okay, good, don't believe in it because maybe they won't bug you. But then he started having his own personal experiences, and then we had some issues here at the house where there was scratching on the windows on the kids' side of the house, and they were terrified because it was happening often. And I swear to you that you look at the window, you can hear the scratching. It was just like on a chalkboard on the other side of the window, and nothing's there. The tree's not anywhere near the window. There's nobody standing there. It's like somebody scratching on the window. Terrifying. And that started to convince him otherwise. And then he had something where something was sitting on his bed and he could feel the impression. So we did some work to get that out of the house. But I have a video of my cat sitting on the dining room table looking at the window, and in the video you can hear the scratching. And that's like one of the only like things I got caught on film, but when I find it, it's yours.
Yeah.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
of course my cat's a black cat because that's what I do. He passed away.
Sweet baby.
My kitties.
Meow, meow.
Any other questions? I don't know if I gave you the information you're looking for.
Oh
or
no,
not.
you're
A
doing
lot of
great.
info.
Do you guys have any specific like questions regarding some messages that you received or any clarification you need?
Ooh, let me look at my notes really quick.
Yeah, I see what you got. Though.
Yeah, she has some notes.
I didn't record mine. I just jotted down a bunch of notes after the session.
While she's looking through
Ooh,
that.
I have a random question. I don't even know if this is something you'd want to do right now, and we respect your boundaries fully, but are you picking up on anything from us as a group right now?
I think two of you are tired.
At least two of us.
That's exactly what the.
I'm drained. I'm really drained right now. Yeah.
The tarot lady, she told me my energy is like, and it's also in my little chakra chart thing.
Well, let me see that. You got some gold around you and the red. And
Oh yeah, do you want to see our
white.
photos?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I should check
This
out our.
This is
is mine.
Angela.
Okay, nice. And a lot of gold around you.
And then we got.
I don't know what they all mean, so
Here's the
oh,
alien.
nice. I like the red. So I think that's something to do with the white is a really good thing. The gold's a really good thing.
That's
look at
me.
that, all that gold, nice.
Drea and I had almost the exact same. I mean, there's differences though, but
Yeah.
same colors, similar colors.
But I don't know much about the aura picture taking, and I don't know what the colors mean. But I imagine, it just means a specific sort of energy. I know some of it is good and some of it's bad. So what did they tell you about your aura pictures?
A lot.
They did well with Drea and I. Ours were similar, and it's interesting because Drea went somewhere else and received an aura photo, and it's very similar to the one that she received weeks ago at a different place, which was pretty cool. But ours both say like we're artistic, physical, creative expression, and excitement. They told me in my reading, and then a different person that did the aura photo said that I have mother energy and that I take care of everybody, and I have that, and that kind of that
seems really
it was definitely a fit. And then Drea needs to speak more of her personal story to help other people,
Right. Yeah.
and then Kat, hers I guess blipped a bunch, but I
had a weird experience in there. It was all very strange, but I sat in the little booth and I was waiting to have my photo taken, and it just kind of spaced out. And then I kind of came to when Angela said like, oh, look at you, doing the little side profile thing for your photo, like posing cutely. And I was like, no, I just spaced out. And then the woman operating the machine said, oh yeah, me too. And we both like zoned out at the same time. And apparently during that time, the image was just flicking really rapidly, changing through all these different colors. And then it stopped on that like strange peachy pink color.
How does your left shoulder feel right now?
My left shoulder feels okay. My right shoulder usually feels like garbage. Almost all the time.
Okay.
Are you getting something? Are you seeing something?
Yeah, I feel like there's somebody right there. And it's somebody that you miss, and it's a man. And they're with you all the time.
Wow.
I just got chills.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That's interesting because when I asked the tarot reader if anyone was around me, I felt like I got a really vague kind of non-committal answer from her about that. And she mentioned someone, but she said an older woman, but not my grandma, like further past. Like maybe someone I never even met.
No, this is somebody that you know that passed away.
Wow.
And it's a male.
Interesting.
Wow. Is it going to leave my house?
She said he was with me.
You, yeah.
Fuck on her.
I wonder if it's my grandpa.
It's not anything bad, but they're very protective of you.
Oh, cool.
Is there anyone else in here?
No, I don't know if I can do it anymore.
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good. I understand. Thank you.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very
Say-
cool.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's so good. I don't know what to say right now. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
Right next to you, Angela.
I'm gonna have to ponder on that.
Talking about tarot, I'll pull out my tarot. And I'm going to pull one card.
Ooh.
Oh.
Okay.
We'll see what it says.
while you're doing this, we really appreciate just all the energy that you're putting forth into this. Really appreciate it so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's hard to say no to freaking punk rock stars.
I'm living on their coattails like all the time.
Same. I'm just a stray.
I'm just the geek that they're like, sure, we'll take her along.
You guys know a lot of nerdy stuff.
Oh, the world. Oh, man. That's a great card. That's like the best card in the whole deck.
What?
Yeah, the world card came up. So this card I pulled for all of you for what you're doing. And I'll tell you what the meaning of the world on, the explanation is. Completion, wholeness, contentment. So it appears to me that everything you are all working on is going to come to completion. It is going to fulfill you. You're going to obtain your dreams and your goals, and you guys are rocking it. And it's just keep doing what you're doing, and it's going good places.
That's awesome.
Wow. I'm like crying over here. Oh my God.
Wow.
So great.
That's awesome.
Oh, we appreciate
Absolutely.
that.
I could give you a longer explanation if you wanted
sure.
the card. The world card is the final card in the journey of the major arcana. It signifies completion, harmony, and contentment. It's rare to experience this energy, as we are usually consumed by wanting, needing, and achieving. So when this card appears, contemplate for a moment the idea of being whole. Focus on the image on the card, close your eyes, and envision the radiant energy inside you. What does it feel like? Where is it located? What blocks you from feeling a sense of wholeness each and every day of your life?
Wow.
Mic drop.
Ooh.
Mic drop.
Yeah.
Wow.
My eyes are wet.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the moment right now.
Mhm.
You know, you got to enjoy what you have, what you've been working for, and what you've already accomplished. You're all doing some really fun, awesome, cool things, and enjoy it. Don't think about yesterday and tomorrow as much as you think about right this moment.
Oh man, thank you
Aw.
so much.
Wow, that was
Yeah.
amazing.
That's so good. I don't know how we could top that. I don't.
No.
Yeah.
That's
They both will cry over here.
Aw, boo-boo.
Oh, it's like a dream come true.
No, we complete each other.
Oh, I love it. Well, what's interesting is that Kat, this is her first time coming on as a host, and this is our first official episode of these one-offs that we were wanting to do. And I even said earlier, because it sounds so creepy, but when
No,
you came
can't
in,
creep me out.
but when you came in, we were only doing a couple podcasts, but when she was here, I was like, I feel like she's going to be the fourth person to kind of, because those two, I mean, I'm close with them both, but I felt like she was the other person to come in to kind of, yeah.
Aw. The deck confirmed that. We're complete together.
You got it handled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's true.
South and West, you guys be like, it's good over here. It's good over here. We're
Awesome.
all
Thank-
together.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Colleen, if we don't have any further questions for you, we just want to again thank you so much for your
Thank you.
for your experiences, your beauty, inner and outer, and just sharing your gift with us. Before we let you go, can you just plug like your stuff and where people can buy your amazing products?
It is amazing. It's amazing.
Yes,
it is.
We've used them.
Yeah.
They're amazing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yay! So my apothecary, it's called Siphon Draw Apothecary. It is located at the Goldfield Ghost town. And my website is siphondraw.com. It's spelled SIPHONDRAW.com. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
All right.
Buy all the stuff, guys.
I'm going to.
All social media, and I have a website that I just told you about. So, but my business is centered around offering people options so that you can avoid the toxic ingredients in most skincare products. So
Amazing. Maybe we'll take a Grave Sister road trip up into the
Yeah,
Goldfield
there you
Ghost
go.
Town and
Yeah.
check out some of those feels.
Heck yeah.
We
walk
should.
around at night if you want.
What? Really? Can we take photos and stuff?
With me, you can. There's a lot of ghost hunters that go there, and there's a few locations in the ghost town that are considered haunted, and there's lots of experiences that happen there with a variety of people. So if you're ever interested in just exploring, it's a pretty cool place. It's a mining town. A lot of people died there. A lot of craziness happened. There's a lot of history. So typically mining towns are considered haunted.
Yeah.
Right. Excellent. Well, I think we figured out another follow-up episode that
Yeah.
we're going to have.
Yeah.
That's great. Well, thank you so much again, Colleen. And we appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing your gift. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
Okay, everybody. Again, that was Colleen Dolly Sinclair of Siphon Draw Apothecary. And definitely head over to the website and show your love there. Like her harder on all of social media platforms. Wow, I still, you guys, I still can't get over that that card she pulled for us. That just felt right. It felt right.
We are the world.
No, but I really feel like in some aspects, I hope with this podcast, it's not necessarily like believe what we present. It's more like question, look into, what your thoughts are of the unknown, or what beyond what society tells you, what is out there.
Yeah.
Open your mind.
Yeah.
Open the talk.
Explore it all.
For sure.
Oh, okay. What's going on? Here I am. I'm back on Earth. I also wanted to mention that if anyone's looking for a tarot deck, a friend of mine illustrated and printed an entire deck all on her own. So many drawings. You can purchase it on our website. The deck is called the Runners of the Sun Oracle Deck. And you can find it at ameliarosetattoo.com. That's AmeliaRoseTattoo.com.
Awesome. Well, again, I think this was a successful first Grave Sister episode. We appreciate all of you listeners that are tuning in. And again, big thanks to Colleen Dolly Sinclair. She's amazing in more ways than one. But we would like you to head over to our website, SoundSistersAZ.com, and check out our previous Sound Sister podcast episodes, as well as articles and photo galleries. You can also follow Miss Kitty's social media to get her inner happenings of her tattoo work. What's your social media's address?
At Miss Kitty Tattoo. I think there's no S. Let me confirm that.
I mean, how many times do you really message yourself?
Yeah, it's Miss Kitty Tattoo. Okay. And then my Facebook page is Miss Kitty's World of Wonder under pages.
Right. And I encourage you, all you listeners, if you haven't already, to take a look at her work, especially if you're a fan of the subjects that we're talking of, because it's saturated with all this. You're definitely inspired by the things that you are obsessed with, just like us. So definitely head over there and check that stuff out. Okay, just a friendly reminder, any sort of creeptastic photos, videos, or stories, be sure to head over to and email us at contact@SoundSistersAZ.com, or you can log into Instagram, search our page, SoundSistersAZ, or grave_sistersAZ, again, on Instagram. But be sure to follow us, like us, heart us, all that good stuff. We do appreciate you showing all the support with Sound Sisters and our newest edition, Grave Sisters. We appreciate all the love. This is your ghost host, Angela RoseRed, signing off with my fellow ghouls to say, when you hear a mysterious bump in the night, you feel the truth is really out there, or you cannot shake the feeling that there's more than what the eye can perceive, remember, you are not alone.